How to never rush your golf swing again. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? If you're anything like me, you've been out on the course, you feel yourself rushing, you hit some bad shots, and sometimes it's hard to get rid of that. But in today's video, we're gonna show you how to do that with a unique way that you've probably never heard before that's really gonna help you. I'm Eric Cogorno, my good friend JT Thomas. We're here with Performance Golf. JT, rushing in the golf swing, big problem. But if you understand why it's happening, and you have some simple strategies as to how to fix it, we can get rid of that pretty quickly.
Yes.
And so there's two key concepts we're gonna start with and a couple feels we'll layer on. JT, if you could take your setup, one of the things that I've heard you with students before, which I think is so good, like a lot of the things you do, was this idea that the student was actually rushing too much because the timing or the sequence of their arms to body was off.
Yes.
And I had never heard that before. And so maybe for someone who's watching, who's struggling with that, what does that mean? How does that work? How can we solve that?
Yeah, for sure. So, a lot of the awareness of, hitting this golf ball, which is in our arms and our hands, we're hitting it with a club, right? We're not hitting it actually with our body.
Yeah.
We see a big kind of discrepancy between where the arms are in space or where they are in their swing and relative to where the body is. I like using like a metric of like 100%, 0 would be at address, 100% would be the top of the swing. We see a lot of golfers where their arms will be at 100%, their body's at 20%, or the opposite spectrum where we see the body's at 90% and the arms are only at 20. So
so it's like where their arms are relative to the body throughout the swing, and then how does that work? That then would like affect what they think they need to do on the way down.
Yes, exactly. So, if the arms are ready to go, right? They're already up here at 100%. I'm only at 20. Well, now the rest of my body's anxious. I'm ready to get to the ball. It's like, oh, okay, and now I'll hit it.
Okay, so if the arms are like done and the body hasn't moved already, they're thinking like, oh, okay, I gotta go to kind of catch up.
Yes, I gotta go to catch up. And then again, if your body is not moving enough, then your body will move quick to catch up. So kind of all these scenarios are there where we have, I call it like a sort of like a snake, but we see the golfer like all over the place. They don't know where the club is, they don't know where their body is, and they just want to get it over with, right? It's an uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because I think obviously a lot of times someone may rush because of like fear of golf ball, fear of outcome. That's a real thing.
Yes, yeah.
But another reason might be this, like their sequencing or timing of their arms to body could be off.
Yes.
That's like a light bulb moment right there.
Yeah.
So if that's true, like what are we supposed to, or what do we want to have if we want to have them, I assume kind of at the same time?
Yeah, roughly at the same time. That's where we're going to start, right? So elementary version, if you really struggle with the timing, you struggle rushing your swing, let's just get your arms and your body working together.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And so that's sort of where we start.
Very interesting.
Is trying to get, like, let's say my body motion's at 50% and then my arms at 50%.
And when you say 50%, that's like 50% of what they're going to do on the way back?
Exactly.
50%
So
of the motion?
Yeah, 50% of their full range of motion for the backswing.
Okay.
So, for example, that would be, let's say, 45 degrees of hip turn, 40 or 55 degrees of shoulder turn, arms are left arm parallel to the ground.
Yeah, okay.
So that's all roughly 50% of my movements.
Yeah, all in the same spot, okay.
Yes. And then it stops all at the same time, goes sort of all at the same time.
Most golfers don't realize this, but every player has about 5 swing flaws. The key to improving isn't trying to fix them all, it's knowing which one to work on first. Because when you fix the right one, it creates this amazing domino effect that clears up multiple other flaws automatically. At Performance Golf, we use this cool process called the immersion method to find and fix your root swing flaw. This is a 48-hour in-person experience. You'll work directly with me or one of the other world-class coaches to fix the one thing that's been holding your game back. We'll keep our groups small at beautiful locations across the country, and the progress I see is incredible. Dennis, for example, dropped 8 shots after fixing his root flaw. How great is that?
Since the school, my golf game has improved by 8 to 9 shots. I starting to love the game of golf a little more. I'm not getting near as frustrated. Before the school, I was handicapped 26.6, slicing real bad to the right. Couldn't hit my irons flush.
If this sounds like the breakthrough you've been waiting for, click below and see if there's a spot open. This could be the one thing that takes your game to that next level.
Let me hop in there for that and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
One of the things when I first heard this, and I'm trying to like wrap my head around like, okay, 50%, 100%, like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then I heard you do something similar to that, which I thought really helped. And I tried this, like let me try this, see if it works. And the feels that I got were pretty much what you mentioned. This is how I'd want you to, I think we want them to start like this.
Yes.
Would be, I felt like as if the body were like sort of connected to me, or the club was connected to me rather. I felt like my body and arms were working back at exactly the same rate.
Yes.
So if I'm going from 0 to 100, it's like body and arms racing at exactly the same time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to the point where I got kind of where JT mentioned, which is I felt like my arms were about parallel to the ground, and the arms and hands were like in front of me the whole time.
Yes.
Is what I felt. I realized if my arms went and my body didn't turn, my hands weren't in front of me anymore.
Yes.
They're behind me.
They're way behind, yeah.
Or if I turned my body a lot and the arms didn't go, that's exaggerated, but they're too far in front.
Exactly.
And so kind of this like keeping the hands in front of the chest sensation and going from that 9 o'clock back to 9 o'clock through. And I got the sense, even though it's not quite reality,
Yeah.
that like, dude, my hands turned back in front of my chest, they came down in front of my chest, and they finished in front of my chest.
Yeah.
And I felt for me, that gave me a really good sense of the timing. I've since then tried that with lots of students since we first talked about it, and I've seen that successful a lot of the times.
For sure.
And so I think just I'll hit one to start with.
Great.
The sensation you're looking to do before we add on some layers here is arms and hands in front of my body, same rate back, hands like they stay in front of the chest. It feels like my body and arms come down together and through together. Again, that won't quite actually happen, but that's the feeling. So kind of arms parallel to arms parallel, body and arms and hands working together. That's the sensation.
Yeah, so good, really.
And
good.
there feels like there's no need to rush that. I don't need to get my arms going. I don't need to get my body going. They're going at the same rate.
Yes.
But the fact that they may have been off sequence and that was the motivator to rush, never heard that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Well, it helps reduce too the chaos, right? So a lot of the reason that we rush is because the sequence is very out of order, and that makes us feel very chaotic. It would be like walking and we're stepping and our gait's really off. It's like a baby learning. So that's why we want to get out of the situation and the rush happens. But when we feel very, calm and confident in our movements and everything's working together, the rush just starts to go away.
Yeah.
So that's what's really cool about it.
Very interesting. One of the other key concepts, JT, was this like time idea.
Yeah.
And you said, and I maybe quote unquote, time is your friend in the golf swing.
Yeah.
We want time.
We want time.
So inherently when you're rushing, you're decreasing the time you have in your golf swing.
Yeah.
And so to get out of that, it'd be logical to think, okay, let's maybe feel and be aware of the opposite to increase the time we have in our golf swing.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that makes good sense to me. That's logical. And then always I go to, how do I do that?
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the things you did that really helped me was a count.
Yes.
Was a count specifically. And I think we see a lot of golfers, and this might be you, the rushing tends to happen right away when they start or right away in the downswing, kind of early transition.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to be aware of or cognizant of a count or more time, those two phases would be a good place to do it.
Yep.
And so one of the things JT gave me, as I'm feeling my arms and hands go back and through at the same rates, they're even in the race, was said, hey, add a count. I said, okay, when I go back, maybe my normal swing is 1, 2, go. He's like, okay, maybe add 3, right? Go to 3, go to 4.
Go to 4.
So feel the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when JT was having me do that, it wasn't about necessarily like going slower on the way back. It was about it taking a longer period of time.
Yes, correct.
That's a key subtle little difference.
Very, very important.
So we're not saying you could go like Colin Morikawa, like let me see how long I could get this going back. You're sort of going at the same rate you're going, but for a little bit of a longer period of time. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. So for me, I'm going, this is going to be a little bit counter to that left arm parallel, right arm parallel. This will be more like a full swing.
It's more like a full swing, yeah.
But I feel like I'm going a count. 1, 2, 3, through. And you can do some simple things. I'm going to show you that one first, where you feel like you add an extra little second at the top of the backswing just to gather yourself for your downswing. So if it normally takes 2, you count to yourself for 3 seconds. So that for me just felt like I had a little bit of an extra second at the top of my backswing to not rush that downswing.
Yeah.
Some people, JT, will simplify that into like, and you can do this if this works, 1, 2, or 1, 2 through, or players will say like a number or something, 21.
Exactly.
So some sort of mantra in your mind as your arms and body are working at the same rate back and through. Some sort of mantra. You go 1 back, 2 through.
And I would say too, if you're struggling to do this, if you can't quite find the timing of this, that means, okay, go back to the first drill, make sure your body segments are working properly. So if you're struggling to find, and especially slow it down, that means that there's no way, your arms are probably all the way up to the top, your body hasn't started yet, so it's so hard for you to even get to these extra seconds. So that's why it's so important that you first start with, okay, you know, controlling the rates of how much I'm turning, when I'm turning, where my arms are, and then you'll find that it should be much easier to tell your brain to keep going.
Yeah.
Versus, you know, when it's already there, it's like, where do I keep going to? I have nowhere to go.
Yeah, I like that. Let's flip one more time here.
Yeah.
So like starting with that as the core
Yes.
piece, okay.
Yes.
And I think the last little piece that would come up a lot would be the tension in the arms, hands, and shoulders.
For sure.
And so too much rushing would mean too much tension.
Yeah.
Firm grip pressure, like death grip.
Shrug shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe like when you take your normal setup, if you were to put it on, like how do you feel in terms of your arms, the hands, the wrists, the shoulders, the forearms?
Yeah,
More
so-
towards relaxed?
Yeah, definitely super relaxed to start. Yeah, my forearms, I mean, you'll see me tap the club, maybe even re-grip the club a little bit. You'll see that a lot of times you'll see guys waggle, and they're obviously trying to keep things moving, keep things loose. Nobody's gonna stand there, which is what we see all the time, right? On lesson tees or in our playing lessons,
Yeah.
guys like this.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Like
stuck
30
there for,
seconds.
yeah, exactly, they're stuck. So what's so important first is like having a little bit of movement. You know, you can pick the club up a little bit on the ground.
Yeah.
You can tap your hands on the grip.
And as you're doing that, like I would told JT, one of my feels every shot I hit is like relax the shoulders,
Yep.
relax the arms and forearms. You got to grip it enough where you can hold the club,
Yep.
but probably not like 10 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely not 10 out of 10. And I would say most students definitely grip it way too tight.
Yeah, way too tight. JT, just smooth one out there.
Yep.
JT's a good model too. Like his normal good swing, his tempo's so good. And it's because he does all these things naturally. His grip pressure is really nice and neutral. His arms and body sequence together. He's got very good timing. But if you're someone who rushes and you have one of those three, check the tension at setup.
Yep.
That's a big one. The core foundation of the body and arms moving together, not different timing. That is humongous. And then a little bit of a count reference, I think, is a good place to live. You guys struggle with rushing, please try these three. They're gonna really help you. If you enjoyed this, consider sending this to one of your other friends who struggles with rushing as well. Click that like button, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.